are these people?
So I think it's specifically, if I go here, by Heather Kaiser, Anya Parampil, and Max Blumenthal. So they're doing great work over at the Grayzone. So this was literally yesterday they put this out. This is hot off the digital press. In the absence of official scrutiny of Washington's spending spree on Ukraine, the Grayzone conducted an independent audit of U.S. funding for the country. We discovered a series of wasteful, highly unusual expenditures the Biden administration has yet to explain. During a recent discussion with New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof, administration of the United States Agency for International Development, Samantha Power touted her organization's push to guarantee transparency for U.S. taxpayer funds sent to Ukraine. We are involved in funding efforts and ensuring judicial integrity, which is intrinsically important to building Ukraine's democracy and its integration plans to get into Europe, Power declared, adding USAID's work in Ukraine was always really important in terms of assuring the taxpayer, the American taxpayer, that their resources are well spent. Yeah, about that. So here's Samantha Power. Even a year into the war, Ukraine continues to build out DIIA, an e-government app that gives citizens access to more than 120 government services. I spoke with Nick Kristof about USAID's support of this groundbreaking app that plays such an important role in transparent government. So here's what was that tweet had in it.
Continues to build out this incredible app they have called DIA, which provides now more.
What? Why? Oh, because I barely tapped scroll wheel?
Ukraine continues to build out this incredible app they have called DIA, which provides now more than 120 services for citizens to do everything from get your birth certificate and your marriage certificate to opening a bank account to voting on some new piece of legislation as the RADA continues to function and pass laws, many of which, of course, are wartime related, but much of which are actually regular legislation about how to keep and enhance social services. We are involved in funding efforts at ensuring judicial integrity, which is intrinsically important to building Ukraine's democracy and its integration plans to get into Europe at some point, but also really important in terms of assuring the taxpayer, the American taxpayer, that their resources are being well spent.
Yeah. He's a fucking monster. He's a fucking monster. Victoria Nuland, like Part 2.
Digital currency going on in Ukraine as well. I don't know if you caught all that. You know, they're
not just the digital currency, but everything.
Yeah.
Yes, no, but everything is tied to a digital identity. This is next level digital currency.
This is what they were complaining China was doing.
Right. Where they can literally shut down access to your bank account.
Yeah.
Even the locks to they can change the access to the locks to your house because everything is digitized.
Yep. Anything to add, Care Bear, before we get into it?
Not yet.
Okay. So, while innocuous on the surface, Power's comments revealed a great deception the U.S. government is currently waging against the American public in the roughly 16 months since Russia's February 2022 escalation of the Ukraine conflict. The U.S. government has approached several multi-billion-dollar spending packages to sustain the Kiev's military fight against Moscow, though many Americans likely believe the U.S. dollar allocated for Ukraine are spent directly on supplies for the war effort. The lead author of this report, Heather Kaiser, conducted a thorough review of Washington's budget for the 2022 and 23 fiscal year and discovered that this is far from the case. They found a numbers gal in this case to go through it. So, you know, I mean, not to assume genders or whatever. They may be a they, them. You know, we don't know. U.S. taxpayers may be shocked to learn that as their families grappled with fears of Social Security's looming insolvency, the Social Security Administration in Washington sent $4.48 million to the Kiev government in 2022 and 23 alone. Just that alone. That's y'all's Social Security. That's what that is. Like literally. USA paid off 4.5 billion worth of Ukraine's sovereign debt. They paid off their debt through payments made to the World Bank, all while Congress went to loggerheads over America's ballooning national debt. Western financial interests, including BlackRock, are among the largest holders of Ukrainian government bonds. Yay, BlackRock here too. It's like the who's who of, this is the halls of injustice right here. Thought it is nearly impossible to calculate the total sum of U.S. tax dollars sent to Kiev. Kaiser was able to perform an independent audit of Washington's proxy war in Ukraine through a careful search of open source data available in the U.S. government official spending tracker. Right? It was like what Open Secrets does, right?
Right.
Yep.
Kaiser reviewed all the funding allocations in which Ukraine was listed the place of performance for fiscal years 22 and 23. Additionally, the discovered supplementary funds were sent to Kyiv by listing Ukraine as the justification for spending, rather than the locations where the money was physically sent. Calculating the total amount that the U.S. has given to Ukraine is incredibly challenging for a multitude of reasons: lag in reporting, covert money by the CIA. They're not going to publicly disclose their military assistance in the form of military equipment is not calculated in the same manner as raw cash, right? As we found out when they accidentally sent 6.2 billion or whatever that was, right? $6.2 billion right here. There it is. Despite this, Kaiser submitted a request to the Department of Treasury asking them to disclose the total dollar amount of U.S. taxpayer support for Ukraine. Treasury has not responded at the time of publication, as they always do, right? So here's the big ones that we're going to hit on later. Kaiser was able to search through pages of reported spending. The U.S. government has yet to conduct an official audit of its funding for Ukraine. What's more, there's currently no limit to how much Washington can send to Kyiv. Okay? In the absence of dedicated official scrutiny of Washington spending in Ukraine, the Grayzone has produced an independent audit of U.S. tax dollars allocation in the country. Right? So, among the money troubling contract we discovered was a $4.25 million payment from the Pentagon to a military diving contractor. Okay? That a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee has described as a fraudulent company. Okay? The Senate Armed Forces as a fraudulent. Okay. The U.S. government has searched the payment, covered the company's delivery of explosive equipment to Ukraine. Their dive team sent explosives equipment to Ukraine to the tune of $4.25 million.
In a fraudulent company.
To a fraudulent
company
that the Senate Armed Services Committee thinks is a fraudulent.
You mean like a CIA front?
It's all about geometry.
You know what I mean? Like,
how about that? Nord Stream. That's right.
Reef.
Yes.
Did she make a total of all these expenditures?
I think at the end we're gonna go through a few of them.
Okay.
So how exactly was that money put to use, and why has Congress so far refused to implement any program to track these shady weapons deals? Fortunately, the justification for contracts like these often consist of just a brief paragraph, or worse, a single sentence. Little information is available that documents precisely how the funds were spent. Down to the dollar
Reed,
and
you're asking the government to be accountable.
But wait, there's more. But wait,
really?
There's more. But wait,
really?
So. This is the ones we can kind of skip around through. So USA awarded $21.8 billion to Ukraine through fiscal years. I'll read that again. $21.8 billion. Okay. Billion with a B. With a big old B. Okay. Throughout fiscal years 2022 and 23, roughly 41% of the $53.4 billion with another B it spent during that period. Mysteriously, a portion of USAID funding earmarked for Kyiv was sent to Kenya and Ethiopia via other agencies, with the awarded description stating projects in Africa were, quote, partially funded with response funds and Ukraine supplemental funds.
Who would like
We're
to
not
bet,
doing anything there. Come on.
No.
Who would like to bet that these have to do with
Possible
possibly
coups?
CARICOM?
Uh-huh. So don't worry about it. Nothing to see there.
CARICOM,
Nothing to see there.
AFRICOM.
Okay, so
Okay.
we sent 4.5 billion to Ukraine via the World Bank to pay off Kyiv's debt and fund various social programs, including government pensions. Made a total.
No, hold on, whoa, hold on. I know Kit. Unfortunately, Kit does this.
Yes.
But democracy in the chat. As Kit
Democracy in the chat, sure.
Type 1 if you have a pension.
Sure.
Type 2 if you don't.
Okay. Yeah. Right. That'll be an easy one. We're gonna see a lot of 2s, I'm betting. So USA made a total of 21 billion worth of direct payments to the World Bank in fiscal years 22 and 23. 9.1 billion and 11.9 billion respectively. More money than all the funding Washington sent to the bank between fiscal years 08 and 21 combined. The 4.5 billion allocated for Ukraine funding programs directed by the bank's International Development Association and International Bank for reconstruction and deployment. So remember that bank, okay? So
they're funding a laundromat. Come on. It's a laundromat funding. They're building a laundromat. Come on.
So USAID supplied a $1 billion grant to the World Bank's International Bank for Reconstruction and Development to subsidize projects Ukraine cannot fund at this time. So they're doing projects that Ukraine can't fund. Okay. So here is the International Bank, right? 1 billion, right? So that's what you have here. Right. And if you see what's highlighted, cooperative agreement with Ukraine to continue existing USAID programs Ukraine cannot fund at this time. They were talking about sentences, Collin. It's literally that. This is what they're looking through.
So in other words, this is just carte blanche, like blank check.
Yeah, it's blank checks. Everywhere. Blank checks everywhere. Like, but it's like this is like the line that, like, this is what they were saying they were funding, and this is how much they're funding. Like, this is the amount of, like, could you imagine trying to get a loan at the bank for that much money? How much fucking paperwork you'd have to do? Like, right. You know, so USAID has supplied 20 million to miscellaneous foreign awardees. Right? Recipients include a Polish think tank called the Kazimierz Pulaski Foundation, a Toronto-based Ukrainian TV channel, a collection of Ukrainian anti-corruption organizations, and other groups listed in the screenshots below. These awards were issued on top of 26 million worth of funds USAID sent these groups between 16 and 22. Okay?
Wait, stop, back up. They paid a Toronto-based Ukrainian TV fucking channel. Indie News Network hasn't gotten a dime from USAID, I can tell you right now. And there are no other U.S.-based. Well, we wouldn't dance.
You got to fund the propaganda, Indy.
We wouldn't dance,
you got to fund the propaganda.
Breaking Point certainly would have accepted some of that 20 million, I'm sure. Katie Halper certainly would have been looking for some of that money.
And here in Freedom, we have 1 in 3 bridges falling. Shout out to Natalie.
Wow. Shout out, Natalie. Yeah, thanks. Wow.
So
I hate it here.
Yes. See, I like to try to get through these, but people are like, no, stop. No, what the fuck?
Go.
So, like, here's the stuff they're looking through, right? This is a grant summary they're putting out, right? So 500,000 for the Kazimierz Pulaski Foundation, that same award show, right? A program dedicated to advancing U.S. foreign policy objectives by supporting economic growth, agriculture, and trade. Okay? Global health and democracy, conflict prevention, and humanitarian assistance in Ukraine.
Wait. Pause. Conflict prevention?
Yes. Conflict prevention.
Okay. Okay.
To strengthen the International Center for Ukrainian Victory initiative in implementing international advocacy campaigns to keep high levels of international solidarity with Ukraine. So they are using what? Food, money,
Healthcare,
money, trade, money, and global
healthcare.
health through the WHO.
So basically, they're getting essentially free healthcare.
This is our economic stick in the area.
Right. They're basically getting healthcare. Free.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say free, but of sorts, if I determine this right, universal healthcare.
So
or it potentially could be universal healthcare.
That same foundation Ukraine got another 74,000, right, to build capacity and policy formulating capabilities of the International Center for Ukraine Victory and assisting a Ukrainian civil society based in Poland. Okay. So, according to their own so-called peace manifesto, the ICUV's top priority is to admit Ukraine into NATO, which we know ain't gonna happen because they already told them that shit ain't gonna happen. To move a move that former U.S. diplomats from George Kennan to Jack Matlock to Henry Kissinger and even current CIA Director William Burns have described as a major provocation against Russia. These assholes don't even want you to do that.
Well, no, they do want you to do that. They just say that it's going to provoke Russia and that they're going to, but they don't necessarily not want to do it. And that's the rub. Right. They kind of do want to do it. They just don't care about the consequences. They're all like 90 years old anyway.
Well, and also the consequences help them because provocation from Russia equals provocation from them. Like, then they get to escalate.
Yep.
So, Ukraine's ascension to the European Union, NATO as the member, one prerequisite for sustainable peace. So there's them talking about that. They got to be part of NATO, right? So, sent 3 million to the WHO. You thought I was joking a minute ago. In 2022 to improve health outcomes in drought-affected areas in Ethiopia, Collin. Ethiopia, they're gaining help from them. The description stated partially funded with response funds and Ukraine supplemental funds. So USAID sent 30.9 million to Chemonics International Incorporated for the Ukraine Confidence Building Initiative. A private for-profit aid contractor, Chemonics founder said, "This sounds like a Fallout company." Like, that's what that sounds like. Founder said he launched the company to have what? CIA.
What, Collin?
My cousin works for Chemonics.
Oh, that sucks, bro. Don't worry about it. So a private for-profit aid contractor, the founder of Chemonics, who launched the company, he launched it to have my own CIA. To have my own CIA. That's
look at you with the zoom.
Like it's like what Jimmy does with the glasses, but digital. You know?
All right, I'm getting a headache now. Come on, bro.
The Grayzone has documented Chemonics' role in delivering U.S. government funding and supplies to the Syrian White Helmets.
Oh, by the way, no!
Links in the description and chat if you have like a cousin who you need to send information to. This article's in chat. All these highlighted things are actual more links to Grayzone reporting that you could then continue to send.
He's actually the person I'm seeing tomorrow when I go on vacation. Yep. So
have fun with that.
Crab, his cousin works for Chemonics, yes.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh well, look, not everybody vets the company they work for, and
Thanksgiving's gonna be interesting, is all I'm gonna
they go work. Sometimes you go work for someone who starts his own private CIA. I guess it happens. Sure.
I mean, so yeah, funding and supplies to the White Helmets, right? Which served as the propaganda wing of the Al-Qaeda timed armed opposition. Something smells funny. So a backpack smells real funny right about now. So Chemonics previously
like chlorine.
A massive windfall from the U.S. occupation of Afghanistan, ranking and as much as $600 million from USAID. You know what happened in Afghanistan too, Colin? Depleted uranium was used, by the way.
A lot of money laundering too. There's 600 million of it.
Okay, but wait, there's more. We sent 20.7 million to Pact Inc. for USAID Ukraine's public health system recovery and resilience activity, and will strengthen the I'll read that again. Public health system recovery for Ukraine. Public and resilience activity, and will strengthen the government of Ukraine capacity to address COVID-19 and other public health threats, sustain health services during a crisis, and protect the health of all Ukrainians, including vulnerable and marginalized populations. According to its 2022 impact statement, in Ukraine, PACT works empowers citizens to push for transparent and democratic governance, advances gender equality and human rights for women and girls, and accelerates efforts to achieve HIV epidemic control. The contractor's work continued to 172 people, increasing their net income, according to PAC.
172 people, $20.7 million.
Yep.
That seems like a lot of money for 200 people, but maybe I'm wrong.
$25 million to Horizon Capital, a leading private equity firm in emerging Europe. Okay. High growth tech. Succeeding globally based on their work in Ukraine and Moldova, pretty much. 7.6 million to UNICEF for emergency nutrition response and ASALs, arid and semi-arid lands in Kenya. So they're sending Ukraine funding to Kenya as well.
That might honestly be because of the wheat fields and the amount of wheat that could not be grown and sent over from Ukraine. They're supplementing the Kenyans so that they can afford to go buy grain from somewhere else.
This is also directly trying to combat BRICS. I guarantee you all this shit.
That too.
So USAID sent 1.2 to the University of Georgia Research Foundation, located in Atlanta, Georgia, home of the soon-to-come Cop City. Support humanitarian information management through geographic information systems, data analytics, and visualizations. Ukraine was listed as the place of performance. So that's where that performance is happening, is in Ukraine.
Well, there's a lot of tech that's emerged in the last couple of years, and even before the war, Ukraine was emerging as a heavy tech center, like a mini Silicon Valley, where people could work basically on the cheap, and you could get really high quality tech programmers in Ukraine.
I know it's been a while, but let's go back to the top of this story where we talked about some particular diving related purchases.
Right.
So the Department of Homeland Security, everyone's favorite bootwares, sent $5.48 million to Gravois Aluminum Boats LLC. Okay. On June 8th, 2021, for the following purpose: a procurement of 2 38-foot full cabin response boats, 4 38-foot center console response boats, trailers, spare parts, and training as required under FMS LOA DBP LCL for the country of Ukraine. So here's that.
Can't imagine what they were doing.
Right. Department of Defense has transferred $4.7 million to Atlantic Diving Supply Incorporated this February 3rd for, quote, Pro Sapper and EOD equipment contracting squadron. They were contracting a squadron for Pro Sapper and EOD equipment. Okay.
Wait. Reef EOD for the people at home.
What? Huh?
Explosive ordnance. What?
Yeah, a demolition.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Sapper uses C4.
The things that go boom is what they're talking about there. Right. This is what they brought down.
They went to a diving supply that funds SEALs to get Pro Sapper and EOD equipment. and they were contracting a squadron.
Well,
That means they're like, if you're available, please call. You know, and marine life-saving and diving equipment. Can we look at that for like a couple of orange boots?
Is that the 6 Ukrainians in a boat that the New York Times said was going on?
Maybe. So explosive ordnance disposal and sapper equipment is exclusively used to blow things up or clean up explosives. And Atlantic Diving Supply is a military contract originally founded to provide tactical gear to Navy SEAL divers. When a company like this is tasked, what?
Shocking.
Yeah. Is tasked with a highly specific delivery of explosives gear to any foreign nation, including Ukraine, it should prompt questions about the mission, no? Particularly when U.S. intelligence is blaming Ukraine's military for attacking the Nord Stream pipelines without the knowledge of President Vladimir Zelensky. The payment date does not necessarily correlate with the date of delivery from the vendor. In other words, the equipment could have been delivered at a prior date. Okay.
Yeah, like June 2022. Like,
but they were
June 2022.
They were contracting the squadron. Now those guys got to get paid.
Holy shit!
So
it's all right there. Holy shit!
Hillier, the founder of Atlantic Diving Supply, paid a $20 million settlement in 2019 to resolve charges that he defrauded the Pentagon by falsely claiming his company was a small business. Atlantic Diving is consistently listed as one of the top 25 largest military contractors in the country. In 2021, Hillier ranked in a massive $33 billion contract under the same program, prompting fresh accusations. That's a small business, Collin. $33 billion? Real small. This pattern of malfeasance prompted a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee to bluntly denounce Atlantic Diving as a fraudulent company. The company's fraudulent. We'll send you some money, though. Don't worry about it. Hillier currently owns 13 million mega yacht. Please, dear God, orcas, find your targets.
White Gladys.
White Gladys. The next one's up, baby. Cayman Islands, 24 million worth of beachfront property in Hawaii. The two Bahamas-based company with murky operations, according to the Project on Government Oversight. Okay? Let's just get everyone there. Look, this is the founder. Look at him. Look at that. Look at him with his little crown hat on. Look at that.
Come on. Is that
little wakeboarding? There's his yacht. Look, there's his yacht. Gladys, pay attention. Like, this is what it looks like. You know. Department of Defense has paid $4.9 million to BAE Systems as of September 12th. So this is for those boats earlier, right? Remember those 4 boats? You need 4 boats, right? And like 2 other boats, big boats. Guns over 155 millimeter through 200 millimeter. In Navy terminology, LCLs means littoral combat ship. LCS. Littoral
right.
Combat ship. While LW refers to the lightweight gun, and 155 spares refers to the gun mounted on the ship's main battery off the bow. So spares of the big gun. Like,
this is in case shit went down in the Baltic.
Right. So, what is the exact purpose of the LCS LW 155 military gun spares? Why were they given to Ukraine, and where are they now? Is there a tracking mechanism in place to know where they are and how they're being used?
Yes, but they're not going to tell Max.
So, sure. Washington funnels cash to a private equity firm, Georgia Finance Combination, and private entrepreneur via Ukraine Aid. So, here's more. $25 million to Horizon Capital, leading private equity firm in Europe. We got $1.5 million to the Gazelle Fund, right? Another private equity firm, right? The Federal Trade Commission sent $800,000 to a single individual. to a private entrepreneur in exchange for overseas technical assistant program support services. That's what that guy got.
That's that guy. What?
A kid in the house with the National Science Foundation said $1.3 million to the University of Illinois, for faculty and curricular development and remote sensing. The place of performance is listed as Ukraine. And Department of State sent $8.3 million to Catholic Relief Services to help refugees from Ukraine meet their essential needs during initial displacement. According to spending.gov, spendingus.gov, Catholic Relief Services is listed as having received a total of $657 million from the State Department in 21, $5.7 billion since 08, and $670 million during the last 12 months. So, to finish out, along with the blowback from the government's gratuitous sanctions policy against Russia and other official enemies, Americans are feeling the impact of the overseas spending spree at grocery stores, gas stations, and everywhere in between. Meanwhile, rising generations are not only struggling with historic inflation, but concerns that Medicare and Social Security will be insolvent in the near future. Washington and Europe have insisted that the flood of aid to Ukraine is essential to defending democracy against the existential threat of authoritarian Russia. This framing is designed to shut down all debate by casting anyone who questions the ballooning price tag as fundamentally anti-American.
Because Putin's a madman.
Putin's a madman.
If you are against funding the West proxy war with a nuclear power, you oppose the very ideals that define our nation.
Uh-huh.
Yet, our inspection of U.S. government spending in Ukraine demonstrates that Washington has prioritized its supposed fight for democracy abroad over the well-being of the American people. As the war drags on, lawmakers like Senator Graham have marketed military aid to Ukraine in increasingly grim terms. As the senator boasted during a recent trip to Kyiv, the Russians are dying. It's the best money we've ever spent. Meanwhile, Congress has rejected any mechanism that would guarantee transparency on the billions sent to Kyiv and shunned a war powers debate over the U.S. military's presence on the Ukrainian battlefield. Joe Biden, for his part, has pledged that official Washington will support Kyiv, quote, as long as it takes. As the potential for blowback grows from Western pressure to push Ukraine into NATO and a nuclear-armed Moscow is backed into an existential fight for its survival, while economic powers, including China, gradually decouple from the Western financial system, Americans can only wonder how much this will cost them when it was finally over.
Yeah. Ukraine, fuck yeah.
Collin,
Take our money, fuck yeah.
closing thoughts.
I mean, we've been saying this forever, but we just now have numbers.
Yeah. We only have some of the numbers.
Right. Some. That's the thing. Some.
And look at where it's going. Blatantly out in the open. Just a dive team, and they're contracting a squad, and they're procuring sapper equipment and
EODs.
But
right.
I remember Cori Bush basically being like, I think she wrote a memo basically being like, yes, we need to give support to Ukraine, but we need to kind of question where this money is going.
Right.
Like, I mean,
We broke the Collin.
Yeah, I know, dude. I was like, this article's long, but like it's good. You know?
Grayzone's totally doing a stream on this if they haven't already, but geez. This is a big article. And it's a smoking gun that everyone will dismiss in the corporate media and say that it's the gray zone and it's fringe and it's fake news and we need to do this to beat the Russians, but we're not really in a proxy war, but we're in a proxy war, but we're not in a proxy war, definitely.
But here's the thing, there's receipts. Right. There's receipts.
Yes.
So how can you
fight fascism?
Yeah.
Because Putin's a madman. Come on, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Putin's a madman. Like Prigozhin. How much money? How much money did?
Right.
How much money did USAID?
We are essentially paying for pensions and health care.
Yes.
Like
that was only like
in a private CIA.
That was only like $750,000. $750,000 was all they gave for that healthcare thing that I saw. That CIA thing was wow.
Yeah, this guy. You gotta tell your cousin about this guy.
Yeah,
not this guy. What was it? It was.
I'm sure this will be clipped while I'm in Atlanta. So we're gonna have a. But to be fair to him, he hates his job. He's looking to get out of it anyway. But still,
yeah.
This is even more reason.
Kim Tech, you know, whatever. What I think, wasn't it? Something like that. Anyway. Yeah, great article by the Grayzone. Anya and the team did amazing. Keep more of that, please.
Yeah,
more of that. So yeah. Let's go to. I feel like I broke both of you with that story, and that makes me feel good. You know. Like,
no, I'm waiting for Collin to get some more stuff out. I got. I mean, I'm pretty spent on that, but
and keep going.
But we're funding Nazis, and that's the proof of it. There you go, folks.
We're funding Nazis and healthcare and pensions, and just whatever Zelensky wants.
Yeah.
That's basically what I'm reading into this. It's just, yeah, there may be some stuff that is earmarked for certain things, but mostly it's just a blank check to do whatever the fuck they want. And
speaking of blank checks, if you enjoyed the stream, you're welcome to support us. You can find links at indienews.network. We'll take all the blank checks you're willing to send us.
No, as we say, take care of yourselves, your families, and your communities first.
Shut up and take my money.